Or is this full-time MMA now?
I love full-time MMA right now.
Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full-time
MMA.
Holy fuck, full-time family. Shogun Rua just got destroyed by Anthony Lionheart Smith in the main event of UFC Hamburg. Whoo, shit, that's the second legend in a row Anthony Smith has destructed since moving up to light heavyweight. He's now 2-0 at light heavyweight. His first win came over Rashad Evans at UFC 225. Destructed Rashad Evans. Here he came through, blew up Shogun. I mean, he beat both of these guys in under 2 minutes and 22 seconds. So that's letting you know how fast he's getting these legends out of there. That's how dangerous Anthony Smith is. Before he moved up to light heavyweight, he was on a 4-fight winning streak at middleweight, all knockouts, before losing to Thiago Santos and eventually moving up to light heavyweight. But with that being said, now Anthony Smith, I believe, is 6-1 in his last 7 fights, and he's looking dangerous. And with this win over Shogun, not only did he jump into the top 10 of the division, but he also made a case for a title shot. Now, he's going to have to get through Alexander Gustafsson first, but check this out. Daniel Cormier said if Shogun won this fight, he would like to fight Shogun. You know what I'm saying? That's a name that Daniel Cormier doesn't have on his resume yet. Legend of the sport. And it would have put Shogun Rua on a 4-fight winning streak for the first time in his career. So if Shogun could have won this fight, DC already shown interest in potentially defending his belt against Shogun. But since Anthony Smith won the fight, that kind of puts him past Shogun's name. Now, is Daniel Cormier going to take this fight immediately? No, he's going to have to get through Alexander Gustafsson fight first. And if he can come out of that fight healthy, then we might be seeing one of these guys challenge Daniel Cormier for that light heavyweight title before he fights Brock Lesnar. But with that being said, Alexander Gustafsson did lose his opponent. He's now lost 2 opponents, as he was originally being targeted and looked at for a fight with Luke Rockhold. But after Luke Rockhold was injured, Alexander Gustafsson was going to be facing Volkan Ozdemir. Volkan Ozdemir also injured off the card. UFC 227, Gustafsson needed a new opponent, and it looked like if the winner of this fight could come out pretty much unscathed, they could potentially be facing Gustafsson next. And that's exactly what Anthony Smith just did. And not only did he come out of this fight unscathed, but he put a exclamation point on this win. This was one of the most brutal KOs I've seen in the last month or so. Doesn't that sound crazy, like, as a human? Man, this is one of the most brutal KOs I think I've seen in like all month. Like, how many brutal KOs are we seeing? But it is what it is. No, but on a serious tip, Anthony Smith, the way he knocked out Shogun, very impressive. He slipped one of Shogun's rights and then connected with a big right hand of his own, I believe. And after that right hand, Shogun started to walk backwards. And Anthony Smith, it's like he smelled blood. He followed Shogun to the fence, and he connected with the fucking elbow that put Shogun out standing up. Shogun was against the fence, like out of it. Like, you could tell the elbow knocked him out, but he was still standing up because his back was to the fence. Anthony Smith, one more shot. Shogun goes down. The referee's already on the way to stop the fight. Huge win for Anthony Smith. Holy smokes. Whew, I didn't expect this, man. It's been a good day of fights. There's been some slower fights today, some grappling, but a lot of unexpected results. That's the sport we live in, the UFC, one of the most unpredictable sports out there. That's why it's such a great sport to be a fan of, because you never know what's going to happen. And boy, even if you did pick Anthony Smith to come in here and get this short notice W, I don't think you expected Shogun to go out like this, dog. And originally Shogun was supposed to be taking on Volkan Ozdemir. And now maybe if you... now, this is kind of how I saw the fight going if he was potentially facing no-time Volkan Ozdemir. Volkan Ozdemir is another light heavyweight that's been putting guys lights out. And so if he would have fought Shogun, maybe this would have been a big fight for Ozdemir, you know, to potentially get the job done. You would have probably maybe expected him to potentially win the fight by KO. But after he was out of the fight, Anthony Smith took the fight on short notice. Then it's like, okay, well, now we'll see how this goes. Anthony Smith has only fought 1 time at light heavyweight previously, you know, so there was still a little to be answered. I mean, we did see him knock out Rashad Evans, but we didn't get to see a whole fight. It was a really quick fight. So you wonder, how is Anthony Smith gonna be at light heavyweight? And it looks like, man, he's gonna be looking great. He's already on the way to a title shot. Just 3 fights in, he's fighting the #1 contender. This is what happens when you take those short notice opportunities, man. Sometimes you get rewarded for it. Sometimes it pays off. Anthony Smith took the short notice fight, got the W. Now he's about to take another short notice fight against another top contender. And if Anthony Smith can beat Alexander Gustafsson, holy shit. Could you imagine the rise from unranked to light heavyweight champion as quick as he could go? Like, this is almost unheard of. And I heard the story during this fight. The commentating crew was talking about how Anthony Smith, I believe, just started training MMA like 5 years ago. They said he found like an MMA little tab at Subway on the newspaper or some shit, like some crazy story. He found out about MMA through Subway, like an MMA gym, picked it up from there, and now he's fucking potentially looking at being the UFC light heavyweight champion. Holy smokes, let's go Lionheart Anthony Smith. Alexander Gustafsson's going to be a super tough task. But after these performances, man, I'm not going to lie, I'm low-key rooting for my guy Anthony Lionheart Smith. This has been a crazy run for Anthony Smith. I mean, even after the Thiago Santos knockout, I didn't expect this. I mean, and there's something to be said, man. Something to be said about these guys moving up divisions, to having that speed advantage that Anthony Smith is having at light heavyweight that he didn't have at middleweight. You know, he might be fighting against slightly bigger guys in this division, but in any type of striking exchange, boy, is that looking like it's going to help him. I mean, even against Rashad Evans, he didn't knock him out with the striking, but he still had a speed advantage you could see in the fight now that he's moved up to light heavyweight. So we saw Daniel Cormier move up against Stipe Miocic and have success at a higher division. So this is another example of a guy moving up a weight class and looking absolutely phenomenal. Holy shit, Anthony Smith. Can't wait to see him fight Alexander Gustafsson at UFC 227. It looks like the fight's going to be going down. He just had to get out of this fight. He called him out on the mic. He said, Alexander Gustafsson, see you at UFC 227. So there was another potential opponent in the audience, Jimmy Manuwa. He could still fight someone in the light heavyweight division. I mean, still interested to see when he's coming back. Maybe if Anthony Smith came out of this fight a little hurt to where he couldn't fight at UFC 227, we would have been looking at Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Manuwa. But as of right now, Anthony Smith has his eyes set on Gustafsson. So, man, a lot to play out. Can't wait for UFC 227 now, especially with Lionheart coming up. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. And before we go, shout out to all the full-time MMA white belts that have hit the subscribe button. Also, make sure you hit the bell right next to it so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And this is the hardest working MMA channel on YouTube. We provide daily updates, predictions, betting advice, we do songs, we do fantasy fights. We've interviewed Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley, Bruce Lachmedio, and Felony Charles Bennett, all in just 1 year as an MMA channel. We're one of the fastest growing MMA channels on the net, but we're still small, so make sure you guys go check out the Full-Time MMA Dojo if you want to learn how you can become a full-time MMA black belt. And while you're there, you can see where this MMA channel started from, some of the goals we have for the channel, and even more cool videos just like this one if you enjoyed it. So thanks again to all the full-time MMA white belts that have hit the subscribe button. And also, if you're just lurking and this is your first time seeing a video, appreciate that as well. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.